Right, hello. Hopefully you can see this here. A few mods while I've been doing the DRO. Now there's no kind of cover on the front of here, so what I've done, I'll show you this. These are for locking up the table in the X. That hole was already there for holding the wire, so I've used that, and I've cut myself some, I think it's about 4mm, a couple of strips off, put a hole in, and then centre potted it, drilled and tapped, put some masking tape up there obviously to stop anything, any swarf, any bits of cast iron, because to be honest, there's little bits of crap coming out of that. So what I'm going to do now is just put a hole through this rubber. I'm going to use what I've made already for where the holes are. Nip that up. Use my fangled spanner thing. That's saying use that as a stencil. Just pop a couple of holes in the rubber either side, and then we can get some little M5 cap heads in there to hold this rubber in place. As you can see, it says, wondering whether you can see it, I put a hole in there for the handle. We'll get it all fastened up and then show you something else. Right, hello, that's on there. It'll need trimming at some point, but what I want to show you here now is the limit switch. Originally there's two holes down there, and this black unit fitted on there, and they're the switches for that. Now if you can see, I've made a bracket and I've managed to space it out so them two pins are roughly in the same position as what they were before. And I now fasten this back to the original holes that the other one was on. I also made sure it's lower than the table, so that nothing is going to foul it. And I'll show you why I've done this in another minute or two. Right, we're back now. We've tidied all the wires up. I was going to do a quick explanation on this unit. Like I say, nobody's paid me for it, I bought it. I sent them an email, and they've sent me a reply back, which I kind of like assumed myself, because you don't get any instructions with it. I think there is a barcode there that tells you about all the other products. It does say on the front though, C1 combined output of C1 and 2. Sorry, C2 and 3. It doesn't tell you if you have to put any in which order, and I don't really think it matters, but even though I put on numbers C3, C2, I actually swapped them round. C3 is my big scale on the column here. To prove, well, I can't really prove it because I'm not going to undo these things. But what I did with the column is, first off, I put it in the dip switches. I put it in to the DRO first off and found out which way it was reading. Then obviously went into my settings. It was reading plus going down. So I went into my settings, and you then obviously change some of your axes there, and I changed the direction. It was on 0, changed it to 1. So then it was reading the right way. As it went down, it was reading minus. Then what I did then, I plugged in the second encoder lead, which is on the quill. Now when I pulled, let's get back out of that. When I pulled the quill down, that was adding onto whatever, well, this had gone minus, so it was adding onto it in a plus. So it was like it was going back. So on the second dip switch, there's 2 little dip switches here, and what it does, it swaps over the reading. If it's reading plus, it reads minus. If it's reading minus, it reads plus. So my second one, say the first one, I altered on the DRO, so it was reading the right way for me. And then the second one, which was the quill, that was reading plus as it was actually going down. So I swapped the dip switch over onto the other setting. When you get them, they're normally up, and I just brought it down. You can, well, you can't really see there, but it's got 1 and 2. Obviously, I think 1 relates to plug 2, and 2, yes, and 2 relates to plug 3, because it's got written on there C2, which is that, forget about that, 1 input, C3, 2 input. So all I did was bring one of the dip switches down to read the opposite, and then they all read minus. Pretty simple. It's all done now. What I will do in the future is get a bracket made for this, and I've got some Velcro. It would be nice to have something on the back, but that would be a little bit more modelling. So I'm just going to use some double-sided Velcro and stick it somewhere round to the back of my DRO so it's out of the way. Like I say, and sort a few more wires out. Like I say, I can hide it. It'll go round the back somewhere like that, and then that's nicely out of the way. It's not hanging around as it's trying to do then. Right, now the second thing was going to show you something with the tinkering about I was doing. Let's show you this. Right, first off, on this mill I am going to wind it all the way, which is minus, in the Y. Now you've got to be careful with these mills. If you've got anything on like your vice, it'll crunch into it, but that actually comes up to a stop before the guard, because they put narrow encoders on these. I don't know if you can see, there is a slight little gap, but it goes up against a stop, and that's stop there. Now I'll zero Y out. Now they do tell you, Warco, I think in the Y it's got travel of about, I think it's 190 something. Hang on a minute. Right, just double checked. Yes, they tell you 195 in your Y-axis. Get you a bit straighter. To bear with me. Right, 195, you see, That says 215. Now the reason for that is I moved that switch. If that switch is stood up, I know I've got this on here, which makes it a bit stiff, but it stops all the crap going in the beds. I might actually make it a slot in this handle so it can pass down. But the thing is that when it's stood up, hits this handle, and with that being stuck up, which is, well, if I've got 115, they said 195, it's another 20 mil. Now 20 mil's 20 mil for the price of a piece of angle iron, or if you've got a bit of scrap knocking about, you're going to get an extra 20 mil. It's worth doing. Without this cover on, it moves a bit easier, and that bracket passes over this handle. So if you want another 20 mil, try that out. These, if you add it up right, still contact, that's lower than the bed, so nothing gets in the way that way, and it all still works. Right, I have still got to make a guard for this. I'll just bend a piece of material over just so nothing gets touched and gets in there, and I think that'll suffice. And the next thing I really want to do, after I've got a little bit of time, I want to change this out. I actually want to cut that out or make a fresh one. Reason being, I've took the stop out. They have a stop in there and they have a height thing, and I would prefer, I've seen someone else do it on YouTube, to have a ground rod up there and have a stop that can move. Have a fixed stop at the bottom and then a stop, and you could put slips in, put a slip pile in, bring your quill down as you would do a bit like a Bridgeport, bring it down, stop it, lock the stop off, and then you've got a hard stop there that you can go down to a depth. Like I say, I've still managed to keep that in there. This is actually bent a bit, so it wasn't reading brilliant. So fingers crossed, that's all of that done. Like I say, right, that's going minus. I don't think that's going up against an O-ring, so that's not too bad. That's why you're getting a little bit of deviation. There's a little O-ring in there, so, but it's nice and smooth. It's reading all the way. If we take the bed down, as you can see, that's minus, and the quill is adding onto it. Hope you found this interesting, and hopefully next time we're doing some Quorn bits.